Hey everybody, Kevin here for Wine Wednesday. I am rolling solo today. Robin enjoying a little bit of time off, so I'm going to run you through some fun little wines we got going on this weekend. So first off, I'm going to start with our South American pack. This is a great little lineup. We don't feature South American wines too often, so it's always exciting when we do. And we've got the Dirigotti back in. So these guys are out of Argentina. We are going with the Las Boqueras cab. So great entry-level cab that normally rolls for about 20 bucks. And then the Dirigotti Malbec. So Dirigotti, for my money, probably the best Argentine juice we get in here. These are really exciting wines. Lots of flavor, big wines, great value. And then we threw in a little white, and it's warming up there a little bit outside, so you might want a little white going on this weekend. If you haven't had any wines from Polcura before, this is, I think, the most interesting little Chilean winery we bring in. Tiny production. This one's out of San Antonio, which is in Lleida, so we're talking about super cool climate Sauvignon Blanc. So really has that nice, crisp, really aromatic, really fine, but not super green character to it. So that is really well worth trying. You get this whole pack for $57.95, and that's online, so you can jump in and get that anytime. So if you like South America and you haven't done any lately, these are awesome barbecue wines. This has got the back deck written all over it. Forecast doesn't look too bad this weekend, so those will be fun. So let's jump into the main event. So this week we are featuring the wines of Relic. So the story with Relic, people always ask, like, how did it come to be? Because they kind of showed up the same time or just after we started getting the wines from Barron's. So Relic's really the story of two people that worked for Barron's Family Winery, which used to be called Barron's and Hitchcock back in the day. So Mike and Shotzi, two of our favorite people in the Valley. They make really interesting wines. Everything they do is handmade. It's all tiny little production. They met while working at Barron's Family. So Mike was working in the cellar and Shotzi was the general manager. And in 2000, they started this project called Relic. So the idea with Relic was to do small lots of interesting wines, all kind of naturally done. So natural fermentations, really like the winemaking was going to be very natural, and the wines were going to be all about where they come from. So what's really interesting with this is the archive line, which people don't see very often because they're really tiny productions. I think the Carignan, they made all of 90 cases, and then the Cab was something like 120. So we're really talking about tiny lots. The cab comes from a couple different spots. It's Kenefic Ranch and then La Place Vineyard, which is actually their top cab they make. So these are kind of the lots that don't fit in with their other Cabernets. But we're talking about $150, $175 wines. So these are big, heavy hitting wines, and this is really like the value proposition from these guys. So you really want to check this out at 80 bucks. I think it's maybe the best deal we have in Napa Cab. And then something really interesting that I'm going to pop open here, sorry Robin, you're missing out this week, is a little bit of Carignan. So this Carignan comes from a vineyard that was planted in 1901. So we're looking at 120-year-old vines. It's in Napa Valley. It's a single vineyard piece. You don't see Carignan planted in Napa anymore. And sadly, when we were there, we got the news that this is, in fact, going to be the last vintage of this because, you guessed it, they ripped out these beautiful old Carignan vines to plant more Cabernet Sauvignon because, don't you know, Napa needs more Cab. So we're really sad about that. I think this was one of the most interesting wines we got from Relic this year. It's this really kind of spicy, generous, super appealing wine. Italian, a lot of the Italians when they came over had all these grape varieties, and actually Carignan, even though it's a French grape, when these Italians settled, they had little bits of it, and some of it still survived. Carignan's one of those varietals where if the vines stay healthy, the vines can really live forever, and they get more and more interesting when they get old. Carignan tends to throw a lot of fruit when it's young, but the old vines really throw very little fruit, super concentrated, and it gets really complex and interesting. And this kind of reminds me of another day in Napa when you used to see wines like this, because this is really, really rare. Lots of that really nice dark fruit, kind of forest floor spiciness, but the color isn't huge. It's a generous, big, spicy wine, but really its own kind of thing. So I would really encourage you to come in and try this wine because it's not going to be here for long, and it's going to be it for this vintage. So hope you guys can make it in this weekend. We'll have the Cab open, the Carignan open. We got the pack on, and we got a couple other fun things that are going to be on the tasting bar. So make it in. We'll see you soon.